What's happening right now at Hollis Hall could completely flip the future of this franchise. A cornerback who showed up as Minnesota's trash is now getting recognition no one saw coming. A Clemson prospect who might finally fix our biggest defensive Achilles heel. And a 7th-round running back who's got the greatest quarterback of all time talking about him. But behind these three stories, there's something bigger, something that ties our recent past to a future that could be glorious. Or a total disaster. Stick around till the end, because what's coming next will decide whether Chicago is ready to dominate the NFC, or if we're about to repeat the same mistakes that have haunted us since the Trubisky era. Look, let me say something that might sound crazy, but it's the honest truth. When Ryan Poles signed Nahshon Wright last April for $1.1 million, I was sitting in my South Side apartment thinking, here we go again with another failed project, and I mean, who could blame me? This guy was a 3rd-round pick by Dallas back in 2021, 3rd round. That means 32 teams looked at him and said, yeah, this kid's got NFL talent. But after a couple of mess seasons with the Cowboys, he landed in Minnesota. And the Vikings, who supposedly know how to scout defensive talent, cut him. Toss him out like he was nothing. So Poles brings him to Chicago on a vet minimum deal. Basically the kind of money you throw at a practice squad guy. And I think all of us in Chicago thought the same thing. All right, he's just a camp body. Maybe he plays some special teams. Come September, he probably won't even make the 53. But then, like always in Chicago, the injuries hit. Our starting corners started dropping like flies, and Wright had to step in. And I'll be real with you, I was terrified. Because we all remember what happened in 2024 when our secondary was a total mess, when any average quarterback could throw for 300 yards on us, when every 3rd and long felt like an automatic 1st down for the other team. But Nahshon Wright didn't just take advantage of the opportunity. He OWNED it in a way I haven't seen from a Bears corner in years. And when I say years, I'm talking back to the Charles Tillman days when the peanut punch was a weekly event. Back when our defense was something to fear. 8 takeaways in one season. EIGHT. Let me put that in perspective. 5 picks, 3 fumble recoveries. This dude led the entire National Football League in takeaways. Not just the NFC, not just the division, the whole league. A corner making $1.1 million was doing the job that $20 million corners are supposed to do. And I gotta ask, when was the last time a Bear led the league in a defensive stat that actually matters? Don't talk to me about tackles or snaps played. Takeaways win games. They flip momentum. They're the difference between playing in January and watching from the couch. Wright didn't just put up numbers. He made an impact every time the ball was in the air near him. IKNEW, something good was about to happen for Chicago. Every time a running back was loose with the ball, Wright was there to rip it out. This guy's got a nose for the ball that you just can't teach. You either have it or you don't. And Wright's got it in spades. Pro Bowl. First time in his career. A guy Minnesota literally threw in the trash became one of the best corners in the NFC. And here's the part that gives me chills, the part that makes me believe. What Wright did was truly special. Tom Brady, 7 Super Bowl rings, the undisputed GOAT, the guy who's seen everything in this league. The quarterback who's faced every defense imaginable over 22 years. Brady just created a brand new award in his LFG Awards to recognize what Nahshon Wright did this season. The Best Value Player Award. Not MVP, not Defensive Player of the Year. The player who gave his team the most bang for their buck. And Brady didn't hesitate. He named Wright the winner. Said, word for word, Wright was the only right answer for the award, and I think that says everything you need to know about what this guy accomplished. When the greatest quarterback of all time, someone who knows exactly what it takes to win in this league, points at you and says, that's the guy, that's not a fluke. That's the highest level of validation. But here's the part that crushes me as a Bears fan. The part that makes me want to scream, because in this league, success comes with a price. And that price is often more than we can afford. Spot RAC, the most trusted source for NFL contract projections, just dropped their market value estimate for Nahshon Wright. $16.7 million per year. 16.7. For a guy who was making just over $1 million last year. And I gotta ask, where are we gonna find that kind of money? Let me break down Chicago's cap situation for you. We've already got big money tied up in the secondary. Jalen Johnson's eating a big chunk of the cap. We've got to think about extensions for key young players. Caleb Williams is going to need a monster deal in a couple years. Montez Sweat needs help on the D-line, and that costs money. The math just doesn't work, as much as I want Wright to stay, as much as he's earned every penny of that $16 million. The reality is Chicago can't pay him without sacrificing other critical parts of the roster. And here's what kills me. We're probably gonna have to watch Nahshon Wright sign with another team. We're gonna have to see him in different colors. We're gonna have to thank him for an unforgettable season, a season that included that miracle wild card win over Green Bay at Soldier Field, and then let him walk. The only thing I ask, the one thing I beg, is that he doesn't sign with the Packers, Vikings, or Lions. Because if I have to watch Wright pick off Caleb Williams twice a year, I don't know if my heart can take it. But the bigger question is this: why are we always in this position? Why does Chicago keep finding these hidden gems, these guys nobody else wants, and then can't keep them once they blow up? Is this just the price of success in the salary cap era? Or is there something fundamentally broken in how we manage our resources? Because I'm telling you, if we keep finding players like Wright and then losing them, eventually that cycle's gonna catch up to us. Eventually we're gonna lose someone we can't replace, and all this progress, all this growth, is gonna vanish. If that blew your mind, wait till you hear this. Because while we're celebrating what Nahshon Wright pulled off last season, while we're in awe of how a $1 million corner saved our season, we've gotta face a brutal, uncomfortable truth about this team. Our defensive line was an absolute train wreck, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm not being dramatic. I'm being brutally honest about what I watched for 17 weeks of regular season football. Let me hit you with the numbers, because numbers don't lie. Chicago ranked 29th in total yards allowed per game, 361.8 yards, 29th in a league with 32 teams. Only THREE defenses were worse than ours. But here's what really pisses me off. Against the run, where a defensive line is supposed to dominate, where it's supposed to impose, it's will we rank 27th, 134.5 rushing yards allowed per game. And I gotta ask, how is that even possible in Chicago? This is the city of the monsters of the Midway. This is the city where defense isn't just a unit, it's our identity. It's who we are. It's who we've been since George Hollis founded this team over 100 years ago. This is the city of Brian Urlacher patrolling the middle, of Julius Peppers wrecking quarterbacks, of Akeem Hicks swallowing double teams like snacks, of Richard Dent in the 80s, of Dan Hampton, of Steve McMichael. We've got a legacy of dominant defensive lines that gave opposing teams nightmares, and in 2025, average teams ran the ball on us like we were a high school defense. Mediocre running backs looked like all pros against us, and I think Dennis Allen, with all due respect to him as a defensive coordinator, couldn't do a damn thing with the talent he had in the trenches. Pro Football Focus just dropped their 2026 draft analysis, and they're pushing hard for Chicago to take TJ Parker out of Clemson. And let me tell you why that makes total sense, but also why it scares the hell out of me. First, the numbers from our D-line, according to PFF, a run defense grade of 42.2. That ranked us 31st in the entire league. Only one team was worse at stopping the run. One. That's unacceptable at any level, but especially in Chicago. In terms of quarterback pressure, another critical job for a D-line, we had a grade of 65.4, 25th in the league. While Detroit's got 8 on Hutchinson breathing down QBS into seconds, while Minnesota's got a rotation that brings heat constantly, we were just standing there watching average quarterbacks have all day to find open receivers. Montez Sweat can't do it alone, I'm telling you. No matter how good Sweat is, and he's really good, one pass rusher doesn't win championships. He needs help. He needs someone on the other side who demands attention to. He needs someone inside who can collapse the pocket. That's where TJ Parker comes in. This kid from Clemson had 9.5 tackles for loss and 5 sacks in 2025. Solid numbers, not eye-popping. But here's the interesting part, the part that makes me think there's more to this story. In 2024, Parker had 19.5 tackles for loss, 19.5, and 11 sacks. 11 sacks from a college defensive end is dominant. But here's the cherry on top. He led the entire SEC, the most physical conference in college football, with 6 forced fumbles. So the obvious question is, what happened in 2025? Why did the numbers drop? And this is where things get interesting, where we have to be honest about what we're looking at. An NFC scouting director, someone who gets paid to evaluate talent, said something really telling about Parker. He had better numbers in 2024, but he also played better. I felt like he saw more attention in 2025 and didn't always respond well. And I think that says it all. Parker's got talent, no doubt, but when teams started doubling him, when they started scheming their protection specifically to neutralize him, he didn't always find ways to win, and that worries me. Because in the NFL, every good pass rusher gets extra attention. If you can't beat double teams, if you can't adjust when teams are studying you, you're not gonna make it at this level. It's that simple. But here's the flip side, the part that gives me hope. Imagine T.J. Parker lining up next to Montez Sweat. Opposing teams can't double both. They can't throw extra resources at two elite pass rushers. Sweat's gonna draw the left tackle and probably help from a tight end or running back. That leaves Parker one-on-one all night against right tackles who probably aren't as good. In Dennis Allen's scheme, which is known for being aggressive, for bringing pressure from all angles, Parker could thrive. He could get back to those 20-20 for numbers. He could be the perfect complement to Sweat that we've been desperately searching for. PFF said it straight up. Parker could make a difference both against the run and the pass. He posted grades above 78.0 as a pass rusher and a run defender this season. He'd be a natural plug-and-play fit in Dennis Allen's defense. And I gotta ask, how many D-line prospects can say they're good at BOTH stopping the run and rushing the passer? Usually you get specialists, guys who are great against the run but can't rush the QB, or pure pass rushers who are liabilities against the run. Parker, according to PFF, can do both. And in the NFC North, where you're facing Aaron Jones, where you've got Justin Jefferson, running routes out of run formations, versatility is everything. Having a defensive end who can do it all is priceless. But here's my biggest concern, the thing that keeps me up at night thinking about this draft. Parker needs development. He's not a finished product. He's not a guy you throw out there on day one and expect Pro Bowl production. And after what we've been through in Chicago with other developmental defensive picks, I've got serious doubts. Remember Roquan Smith, incredible talent, but we let him walk. Leonard Floyd, we waited years for him to hit his potential. Kevin White on the offensive side. The draft is full of guys with all the talent in the world who never put it all together. The question Ryan Poles has to answer is this: can we actually develop defensive line talent? Do we have the right coaching staff? Do we have the organizational patience? Because if we draft Parker and 2 years from now, he's still the same inconsistent player we saw in 2025, this city's patience is gonna run out fast. And I'm telling you, after the season we just had, after beating Green Bay in the playoffs, after giving this city hope for the first time in years, the expectations are sky high. People aren't gonna accept excuses. They're not gonna accept he needs time to develop. They're gonna want results now. But the truth is, if we want to compete for a Super Bowl, like PFF says, we have to fix the defensive line. It's not optional. It's mandatory. The Packers are gonna reload in the draft. The Vikings aren't going anywhere. Detroit, even though they lost in the playoffs, are still Detroit. If we want to stay on top of the NFC North, if we want to be legit contenders, we need a defense that can dominate in the trenches. And T.J. Parker, with all his risks, with all his inconsistency, might be the answer, or he might be another name on the long list of picks that didn't pan out. That's the gamble Poles has to make. Now here's where things get really wild, the part that makes me believe that maybe, just maybe, Chicago is finally doing things the right way, while we're stressing over defensive needs, debating tough salary cap decisions, and worrying about whether we can develop draft talent. There's one guy proving something fundamental about this organization. Chicago still knows how to find talent where nobody else is looking. And Tom Brady, yeah, the GOAT again. The guy with 7 rings who's seen everything in this sport just confirmed it in the most public way possible. Kyle Monange, 7th round pick in the 2025 draft, pick numbered 130-something. A running back out of Rutgers that most teams didn't even have on their draft boards. And I gotta ask, how many 7th round running backs end up getting mentioned by Tom Brady in his annual LFG awards? The answer, almost none. Because 7th round picks are usually guys who are lucky to make the 53-man roster. Lucky to play special teams, super lucky to become solid backups. But to become a legit contributor in your rookie season and get a shout out from the greatest quarterback of all time, that's extraordinary. Brady gave the Offensive Rookie of the Year award to Tetairoa McMillan from Carolina. Well deserved, the kid had a monster season. But then Brady did something that gave me chills, something that made me proud to be a Bears fan. He gave an honorable mention to Kyle Monange. And the words he used were perfect, exactly what I needed to hear about this team. Brady said. Word for word, Monange ran so hard, so physical and determined, he was like a little dynamo back there. Every time Caleb handed him the ball, he ran through people's faces. I love that style of play, and you had a tremendous year, Kyle. And I think Brady saw in Monange the same thing he saw in himself 25 years ago, when he was a 6th-round pick nobody wanted. A guy with more heart than athleticism at the combine. A player who used grit, preparation, and work to make up for what he lacked in raw measurables, because let's be real, Monange isn't the fastest back. He's not the biggest. He's not the most explosive at the combine. He probably didn't wow anyone with his 40 time or vertical jump. But what he's got, what you can't measure in Indianapolis, is heart. And Brady nailed it at the end of his comment. You can't measure heart. That's what they miss at the combine, and I'm telling you, that is the difference between teams that win consistently and teams that don't. The Packers chase perfect athletes with elite measurables. We find warriors who are gonna leave it all on the field. Let me give you Monange's numbers, because they're insane for a 7th-round rookie. Among 65 running backs with at least 50 carries in 2025, Kyle ranked 13th in stuff rate at 40.2%. For those who don't know, stuff rate measures how often you get stopped at or behind the line of scrimmage. A low stuff rate means you're consistently gaining positive yards. Monange was 13th out of 65. That means only 12 backs in the entire league were more consistent at moving the chains. 24th in total yards after contact with 393. That means after the first defender touched him, Monange kept going, kept fighting, kept grinding out yards. 393 yards that weren't in the play design. 393 yards of pure willpower. 25th in yards after contact per attempt at 2.33. That means on average, every time someone hit him, Monange still got over to extra yards. 2 yards that turned third and into third and 2. 2 yards that turned third and into a first down. But here's the stat that really blows my mind. On man gap concepts, those power run plays where the back has to read blockers and make split-second decisions, Monange had a 60% success rate. That ranked him 9th in the entire league. And in yards per carry, the most basic, but maybe most important stat for a running back. He averaged 5.29. 10th in the NFL among backs with 50 or more carries. I gotta ask how many 7th-round running backs put up those kinds of numbers as rookies? Because I'm telling you, those are 2nd or 3rd-round numbers. Not almost didn't get drafted numbers, not probably headed to the practice squad numbers. What Monange gave Chicago was exactly what we needed to complement Dander. Swift is the lightning, the guy who can break off an 80-yarder at any moment. The guy who forces defenses to respect the outside zone. But we needed the thunder. We needed someone who, on 3rd and short, on 4th and 1, on the goal line when you have to score, could lower his shoulder and get the tough yards. And Monange was exactly that. 180 pounds of pure determination, a downhill runner who's not afraid of anyone, who sees a 240-pound linebacker and says, let's see who wants it more. And most of the time, Monange wanted it more. Every time he touched the ball, you knew he was going to fall forward. He was going to move the chains. He was going to do whatever it took to help this team win. And in a league where running backs are undervalued, where teams throw money at QBs and receivers, but treat backs like they're replaceable, finding a guy like Monange in the 7th round is priceless. Monange's breakout isn't just a feel-good story. It's proof that Ryan Poles and this staff know how to evaluate talent, that they understand what it takes to win in Chicago, that we don't need first-round picks at every position to compete, and I think that's crucial for the future of this franchise. Because in the salary cap era, you can't pay everyone. You're gonna have to let guys like Nash and Wright walk after they earn big contracts. You're gonna have to take risks on raw prospects like T.J. Parker, but if you can consistently find guys like Monange in the late rounds, if you can turn 7th-round picks into legit contributors, then you've got an edge over the rest of the league. Look at Brady's Patriots. How'd they win 6 Super Bowls? It wasn't just because they had the GOAT at quarterback. It was because Belichick consistently found talent where no one else was looking. 6th-rounders, undrafted free agents, vets other teams gave up on, and he turned them into championship pieces. Chicago is starting to show signs that we can do the same. Wright was a cast-off from Minnesota. Monange was a 7th-round pick, and both were crucial to our success in 2025. But the question we all should be asking is, can Monange keep this up? Because in 2025, teams didn't have much film on him. They didn't know exactly how to defend him. They hadn't built game plans to shut him down. In 2026, that changes. Everyone's gonna know who Kyle Monange is. Everyone's gonna be ready for his physical style. Everyone's gonna have a plan to stop him. Can he adjust? Can he evolve his game when defenses know exactly what's coming? I think he can. Because what I saw from Monange wasn't just physical, it was mental. He's a guy who understands the game, who studies film, who makes the right reads, and with a year of NFL experience under his belt, with a better understanding of how pro defenses work, I think he can be even better in 2026. And if that happens, if Monange keeps developing, keeps running with that same fire, we're gonna have one of the best backfields in the NFC. Swift and Monange complementing each other perfectly. One kills you with speed and elusiveness. The other punishes you with power and grit. That's a nightmare for defenses. So there you have it, Bears Nation. 3 stories, all telling the same core truth from completely different angles. And that truth is this: Chicago is standing at a critical crossroads. Nosh and Wright showed us that with the right opportunity and the right system, anyone can shine. But he also reminded us of the harsh reality of the salary cap, that success comes with a price we might not be able to afford. Should we break the bank to keep Wright? Or is letting him walk the smart move that allows us to invest in other key areas? T.J. Parker represents the hope of fixing our biggest defensive weakness. That D-line that was unacceptable in 2025, but he also represents the risk of betting on raw potential, of repeating past mistakes with picks that never pan out. Is Parker the answer? Or should we go after a safer prospect at another position? And Kyle Monange is living proof that this organization, under Ryan Poles, knows how to find warriors where others see nothing. He's confirmation that we don't need first-rounders at every spot to compete. But can he sustain this level when everyone knows who he is? So I'm asking you, what do you want? Do you want to spend big on proven free agents who come with guarantees but limit our flexibility? Or do you want to keep finding diamonds in the rough like Wright and Monange, knowing we might lose them eventually, but that while they're here, they can be special? Should we draft Parker even though he needs development? Or is there another prospect you like more? And what do we do to make sure Monange sticks around long-term so he doesn't become another talent we develop and then lose? Let me know in the comments what you think about Wright. Is he worth a massive financial push to keep, or is letting him go the right call for the long haul? Are you on board with drafting Parker? And how did it feel to see Tom Brady the GOAT recognize Monange like that? Because this community, this family of Bears fans is what makes all of this worth it. You're the ones here in February breaking down draft prospects. The ones who celebrated that win over Green Bay at Soldier Field. The ones who've suffered through years of mediocrity, bad decisions, and wasted seasons. If you're not subscribed to this channel yet, what are you waiting for? Tomorrow we've got more updates on free agency moves, deep dive draft analysis, trade rumors, everything you need to stay locked in on your team. Because this isn't just a YouTube channel. This is Chicago's voice in the Bears world. This is OUR Voice. This is where real fans come for real analysis, no filters, no corporate spin. Hit that like button if you think we should let Wright walk and use that money elsewhere. Subscribe if you believe Parker is the answer to our D-line problems. And drop a comment if you're as proud of Monange as I am, if you believe this kid could be something special. Because at the end of the day, we're family. Navy and orange till they bury us. Bear down, Chicago. I'll see you in the next video with more news that's gonna shape the future of this franchise.